We spend the vast majority of our lives arguing with reality. Think about your day today. How many times did you feel a spike of irritation, frustration, or anger? Maybe the traffic was slow. Maybe someone was rude to you. Or maybe you made a mistake that you can't stop replaying in your head. In every one of these moments, you are fighting a silent war against the universe. You are looking at what is and screaming internally, "This is wrong. This should be different." This gap, the distance between the reality we have and the reality we want, is the primary source of human misery. We convince ourselves that happiness is a destination waiting for us in the future, a place we will finally reach once we fix all our problems, once we get the money, once we change our circumstances. But the ancient Stoics realized a terrifying and liberating truth. You will never fix reality. The world is chaotic, unpredictable, and often unfair. If your happiness depends on everything going according to plan, you are guaranteed to be miserable. But what if there was a way to look at the chaos, the pain, and the frustration, and not just tolerate it, but actually fall in love with it? This is the secret of Amor Fati. To understand this power, we must look at the man who perfected it, Marcus Aurelius. We often picture him as a statue, cold, distant, a powerful Roman emperor. But the truth is much more human. Marcus Aurelius did not have an easy life. He ruled during a time of absolute catastrophe. His reign was plagued by endless wars on the borders, a deadly pandemic that wiped out millions of his people, and the betrayal of his closest generals. He was sickly, he had trouble sleeping, and he lost many of his children to early death. He had every reason to be bitter, to hate his life, and to crumble under the pressure. But he didn't. At night, in his cold military tent on the front lines, he would light a lamp and write in his private journal. He didn't write for us. He wrote for himself to coach his own mind. These writings became the book we know today as Meditations. In it, we see a man constantly reminding himself to accept reality exactly as it is. He realized that he could not control the plague or the wars, but he had absolute control over how he judged them. He wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." He understood that the event itself is neutral. It is only our opinion that makes it painful. Marcus Aurelius developed a mental framework that went beyond simple acceptance. He viewed difficulties not as misfortunes, but as raw material for his own character. Imagine a blazing fire. If you throw a small piece of wood into it, does the fire say, "Oh no, this is too heavy"? No, it consumes the wood. It uses the wood to grow taller, hotter, and brighter. Marcus wrote one of the most powerful sentences in history. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the core of his wisdom. The problem is not stopping you. The problem is the path. If you are stuck in traffic, that is not a delay. It is a chance to practice patience. If you have a difficult boss, that is not a curse. It is a training ground for resilience. If you lose your money, it is a lesson in detachment. The Stoic does not resign himself to fate with a sigh of defeat. The Stoic greets fate like a wrestler greeting a sparring partner, with respect and readiness. By accepting that every moment is exactly as it should be, you stop wasting energy on what if and if only, and you channel all your power into what now. Centuries later, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche took this Stoic idea and gave it a name, Amor Fati, Latin phrase meaning love of fate. Notice that he did not call it tolerating fate. Tolerance is passive. Tolerance is weak. To love your fate is an aggressive act of gratitude. It means looking at your life, including the trauma, the heartbreak, the failures, and the mundane Tuesdays, and saying, "I would not change a single thing." Why? Because your life is a singular, connected web. You cannot pull out the painful threads without unraveling the beautiful ones. The person you are today, the wisdom you possess, The strength you have built, all of it was forged in the fires of your past struggles. If you reject your pain, you reject yourself. Amor Fati is the realization that everything that happens is necessary. It is a refusal to be a victim. A victim says, "Why did this happen to me?" A master of Amor Fati says, "This happened for me." It is the ultimate form of gratitude. Gratitude not just for the gifts, but for the challenges that force us to grow. How does this bring us happiness? We often think happiness comes from getting what we want. But true happiness, the kind that cannot be taken away, comes from wanting what we get. When you align your will with reality, you become invincible. You are no longer dependent on external events to make you feel good. You find peace in the present moment because you stop judging it as insufficient. You realize that right now, sitting here, breathing, existing, is enough. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that life is short and that we should not waste it being dissatisfied. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. This is the practice. Stop waiting for the storm to pass. Learn to dance in the rain. Stop waiting for a better life. Love the life you have with all its flaws and sharp edges. Embrace the chaos. Trust the process." This is the ancient secret. You don't need a different life to be happy. You just need different eyes to see the one you already have. Amor Fati.